Hey, it's Lily. Let's just listen to a story together. They say secrets on a construction site travel faster than concrete sets. But what if the secret isn't about the job? It's about a man's wife, his cousin, and a trail of Snapchats someone doesn't want to disappear. This isn't just gossip. It's the kind of truth that can break a family. Let me tell you what really happened. I'm Nate. I run conduit for the electrical sub, same site as Dave, the husband in this story. And I wish I could tell you I set my phone down and minded my own business. That's the lie people tell to sleep. Me? I stared. The snap was a video, 8 seconds, captioned, "Lunch tastes better when it's stolen." There's Maddie's hand in frame, a takeout container, a quick laugh. Then this guy's shoulder slides in, just the shoulder, and he kisses the side of her head. It's nothing explicit, not even PG-13, but the way she tilts into it, the easy habit of it, that's what burned. "Who sent it?" I asked. "Came from local ghost," Mikey said, licking orange dust off his fingers, pretending not to care. "No idea. Burner." The crane operator, Roman, snorted. Probably some idiot trolling, but he kept staring too. We all did, because the job trailer wall behind them in the clip, it looked too familiar. Not ours, but the same beige paint and the same safety poster about ladder angles. It could have been any site, sure. Construction trailers all look like they were built by one bored god. But still, the coincidence clanged. Dave didn't see it. He was across the yard in a lift basket, monkeying a duct run with the sheet metal crew, forearm tattoo flexing every time he drove a screw. If you met him, you'd say, solid guy. He's the kind of dude who refills the water cooler before it's empty and brings extra Advil. He sets his family Christmas card by the coffee machine, same spot every year. Maddie in a cable knit, their boy Tyler, grinning with a missing front tooth and a candy cane. Underneath, in Sharpie, "Happy Holidays from the Harwoods." It's not like Dave preaches some tight moral code. He just radiates regular, stable. He's the person you call when your car won't start. So I tucked my phone away and picked up my sandwich again and tried to let it slip. The wind stung my ears. A compressor coughed itself to death somewhere near the loading dock. The harbor smell drifted in. Salt and diesel, heavy as a headache. Talk shifted to football, then to a supplier back order, then to who was going to get laid off first if the GC kept slipping the schedule. But under all that noise, the snap sat in my pocket like a live wire. The thing about a construction lunch, it's church. You've got 25 minutes to sit on cold steel and tell the truth in fast bursts. Who's getting divorced? Who's got a side hustle? Which foreman is drinking again? Then the horn goes, and all that mess gets stapled under your hard hat with the invoices. You don't bring it up after, and you definitely don't bring it up to the guy it's about. Except that afternoon when we were coil pulling in the east stairwell, I caught Dave stepping away to answer his phone. His voice softened, the way men talk when they're keeping a promise. "Hey, babe," he said. "Yeah, I'll grab milk on the way home. Ty got the reading sheet? Tell him I'll help after dinner." He listened, smiling. Then he nodded even though she couldn't see. "You too." Later, he came back and hoisted the fish tape like nothing. "Kid's got a reading log," he told me, almost apologizing for the interruption. He hates the library sticker charts, but he loves when I do the voices. "That's cool," I said, and the words tasted like drywall. The next day, another snap. Same burner, same 8-second tease. A coffee cup in a car console. Maddie's laugh, her hand tracing something in the condensation on the window. A heart? No. A lightning bolt. The caption, "Quick storm." And this time there's a glimpse, barely, of the other person's profile reflected in the glass. A jawline, a little stubble, a hoodie string. The angle makes everyone look like everyone else, so I told myself that, like a mantra. Look, I'm not a saint. I've been around plenty of parking lot romances. People get bored, people get lonely, people love the thrill of the sneak like a fifth cup of coffee, the shake, the brightness, the crash waiting patiently at 2 p.m. Most of the time, it isn't my business. The site runs on keeping your mouth shut unless it's about safety or pay. But this was the wife of a guy who organized a diaper drive when Mikey's girlfriend had a baby. A guy who, last December, taped that Christmas card to the Keurig and wrote, "Grab a cookie, Maddie baked," under it. Even though the cookies tasted like cinnamon drywall. A guy who says "my family" the way he says "my tools." At lunch, the crew pretended the snaps weren't happening. We ate too fast. We scrolled our phones without scrolling. The sky flickered with gulls. Right before the horn, Roman said, like he'd been holding it in all day, "You know that hat she's wearing? I swear I've seen it in the lot. Red knit with a little snag by the palm. Lots of red hats," Mikey said. "It's January. Hats exist." Roman shrugged. "Just saying." We all knew what he was saying. That afternoon, I stopped to grab wire nuts and pass the job trailer. Through the open door, I saw the card wall. A sloppy bulletin board of lived lives. A lost glove. A flyer for a base fishing tournament. 3 business cards for plumbers. And in the center, Dave's Christmas card. Their faces looked straight out at me. The sweater, the boy's gap tooth, the sugared edges of a universe that felt sealed tight. I caught my reflection over it. Hard hat, smudged face, the expression of a man who had something jagged stuck behind his ribs. Behind the card was the ladder safety poster, the exact one from the snap's background. I reached up and touched the corner of the card like the paper might give me instructions. It gave me paper. On Friday, I took my lunch in the truck, away from the jokes. I put on the heater and listened to the vents click and watched little twisters of dust in the sun streaking through the windshield. My phone buzzed. Another snap. I swore and almost didn't open it. Then I did. It was Maddie's shoes this time. White sneakers with a green stripe. The laces gray from wear. The camera panned up for a second. Jeans, jacket, a flash of her neck. Then a second shot in the same snap. 2 hands, one of them with grease under the nails, fitting together like they'd practiced. Caption, "Bad at saying no." I could feel my face go hot in the cold cab. I don't care how grown you are. The feeling is teenage. Busted, complicit, weirdly thrilled and sick at once. The horn sounded for the end of lunch, but I didn't move. I thought about how Dave always brings his lunch in a blue cooler and sets it exactly 3 lockers from the end and wipes the dust off the top before he opens it. I thought about how, when the wind cuts hard, he shrugs his jacket off and lays it over the pipe bender so your hands won't stick to the metal. I thought about how he calls his son Tie Man, like a superhero. When the shift ended, the lot was a crunch of tires and shouted jokes. I climbed out of the truck and nearly tripped over the red knit hat. It was right there, fallen and soaked in slush, a pom-pom the size of a plum. There was the snag Roman mentioned. I picked it up and felt the wet wool bleed cold into my palm. Then I looked up and saw her, Maddie, walking away from the trailers toward the chain-link gate, phone to her ear, smiling the smile you give someone who has a private map to your chest. "Maddie?" I said, before I could stop myself. She turned. Her eyes did that click people's eyes do when they don't remember you at first. Sight guys are interchangeable in their world. And then she recognized me as one of Dave's crew. "Oh, hey, Nate, right?" She tucked a loose piece of hair under her beanie. No, not her beanie, because I was holding it. She glanced at my hand. I was looking for that." "Found it near the trailer," I said. And those words made a small, ugly joke in my head that I did not let out. She stepped closer and took it from me. Fingers quick, polite. She smelled like coffee and a winter candle. Vanilla, maybe, layered over the world's exhaust. "Thanks," she said. "You guys always save Dave's butt. That's what coworkers are for," I said. "You picking him up?" She shook her head. "Just dropping something." Her eyes flicked toward the trailers and then away. It was nothing, just a move the body makes. But I felt the hair on my arms stir. "I'll let you get going. It's freezing. Have a good night," I said. My mouth added, "Maddie," like I needed to prove I knew her name. She smiled that nice, suburban smile, the kind you learn from school conferences and grocery store lines. Then she walked out the gate, and I watched her go and told myself she'd brought Dave a thermos, a note, the milk he forgot. Something simple. I told myself the snap came from another city. I told myself a volcano was just a mountain with extra feelings. Monday, the burner sent nothing. Tuesday, nothing. Everyone exhaled, and the site's gossip mill spun onto other flour. Some drama with payroll, a rumor that the GC was going to dock hours for slow cleanup. I started sleeping normal again, or as normal as a guy sleeps with an apartment above a bar and a radiator that sings at night like a kettle. Then Wednesday, lunch, the snap. The caption, "Can't keep doing this," with a little ghost emoji. The video was shot from inside a car, the window cracked with winter. You couldn't see faces, just that same shoulder, that same laugh, hers and the other person's. Both talking too fast, quiet, urgent, the way people do when they've left their common sense 2 blocks back. There was a sound, too, a little metal jingle, a keychain, a familiar jingle, because I'd heard it 1,000 times when Dave tossed his truck keys on the gang box. The keychain was a tiny tape measure, beat up, with Harwood Construction printed on it. The promo trinket Dave's uncle handed out at their 4th of July picnic 2 summers back. My mouth went dry. Lots of guys have those little tape measures, I told myself, even though I knew they don't. Harwood isn't a company. It's Dave's family name, the side business out of his cousin's shop. They did a deck for our foreman last year. They showed up in matching hoodies, laughing like a bar full of cousins. In my head, I heard their voices again. Similar. Too similar. I looked up from my phone. Across the yard, Dave was fumbling with his thermos, laughing at something Mikey said, totally unarmored. Snow had started to peck at everything. That fine salt that doesn't stick unless it finds a heart to settle in. "Everything good?" Roman asked, because I'd probably gone pale. "Yeah," I said, and stood up too fast, my knee banging the hitch. "Yeah." That afternoon, I didn't watch Dave. I watched everyone else watch him. People can say they aren't watching, but guys have tells. Too much eye contact. Not enough. Jokes that walk up to a line and dance. I caught a sideways glance or two, the way you catch a whiff of something sour in a crowded room and can't place it. That's how rumor starts, not with a shout, but with a rearrangement of shoulders. When the horn blew quitting time, Dave grabbed his cooler and the Christmas card that had started to curl at the corners and stuck them both in his backpack like they belonged together. We walked out to the lot. I told him a dumb story about a busted outlet and he laughed with his whole face. He unlocked his truck, jingle of the tape measure on the keyring, and tossed his bag onto the passenger seat. "Nate," he said, hand on the open door. "You ever get the feeling the site's a soap opera you didn't audition for?" "Every day," I said. He grinned, then sobered a little. "Hey, Maddie might swing by tomorrow with Ty. She's bringing cupcakes for the crew. Kid baked them for a project about community helpers. You cool if I introduce them around?" "Yeah," I said. "Of course." He nodded, then drove off, brake lights like a pair of little wounds in the dusk. I stood there while the lot emptied until the cold made a decision for me. I had two choices, and both of them felt like walking with rebar in my boot. Tell him what I'd seen, blow up a family, wade into chest-deep drama at work, or do nothing and walk around with a secret ricocheting inside me. I went home, poured cereal for dinner, and stared at my phone on the counter like it was a snake I'd bought on purpose. At midnight, when the radiator really got to singing, I texted Roman. "You ever seen Dave's cousin lately? The one with the shop?" He replied almost at once, a night owl like me. "Which cousin? He's got a flock." "The one with the loud laugh," I wrote. "The face that looks kind of like Dave's, only sharper. Hoodie with Harwood stitched on the sleeve." I pictured the keychain again, the little tape measure, how it flashed in the snap like a tag on a trap. Roman sent back, "You mean Kyle?" "Yeah." That name felt wrong in my mouth and right in the way a puzzle piece clicks. "He hangs around the marina job some mornings," Roman wrote. "Dropping off materials, borrowing tools nobody wants to lend him." "Why?" "No reason," I thumbed. "Just wondering." My phone lit up again, and I thought it would be Roman piling on, making a joke about Kyle's habit of borrowing without returning. It wasn't. It was the burner. One more snap. This one was just a still photo. A pair of hands. Grease under the nails on one. Faint flour dust on the other. Baking cupcakes, I thought. Brain shorting out. The hands were clasped like prayer. On the wrist of the greased hand, a small scar shaped like a comma. I'd seen that scar hundreds of times handing wire up a ladder, sitting on a tailgate at lunch, spun in stories about a dirt bike spill years ago. Dave had that scar, except the arm hair was too dark, the skin tone a shade off, the angle wrong. The caption said, "Last one before we stop." And in the corner, as if by accident, the photo caught the edge of a hoodie sleeve with Harwood stitched in white. I didn't sleep. The next day at lunch, we were back on the tailgate like always, chewing through ham and dust. The air tasted like snow and hot metal. Dave waved from across the yard, walking stiff like his back hurt, grinning anyway. A Tupperware of cupcakes balanced on one palm. Beside him was a little kid in a blue hat, the pom-pom bouncing, Tyler. And behind them, a woman in a red knit hat with a snag in the palm. Maddie lifted a gloved hand and waved at us like we were neighbors and not the jury. Roman leaned in toward me and said under the engine noise, "So, you gonna say something? Or you gonna let the soap opera write itself?" I looked at Dave, at his kid, at the tray of cupcakes iced with kid hand swirls. I looked at Maddie's hat. I looked at the hoodie peeking out from under Dave's jacket, the one he'd grabbed for warmth at the last second. Harwood stitched on the sleeve. Then, over Dave's shoulder, just for a heartbeat, I saw him, standing by the chain link, phone in his hand, hood up, watching without watching. Same jawline, same half smile. And when Dave turned a little, their profiles lined up like two faces in a family photo. Kyle. I didn't say Dave's name. I didn't shout. I didn't do anything heroic or cinematic. I just felt the ground tilt a degree and knew that if I didn't plant my feet, I'd slide into a story with no good exits. "Hey, Ty Man," Dave called. "Say hi to the guys." Tyler waved and grinned that gap-toothed grin from the Christmas card. I raised my hand back, and my phone buzzed in my jacket pocket like it was possessed. I didn't need to look to know it was another snap. I looked anyway. It was a photo of the cupcakes on the tray, blue frosting, silver sprinkles. In the reflection on the tin foil, small and warped but clear enough if you wanted to see. Two men's faces, close together, matching in the way cousins match. One smiling like he'd gotten away with something. The other smiling like he didn't know a storm had already named him. Caption: Family business. I tucked the phone face down in the tool bag and set both hands flat on the cold tailgate, feeling the bite. "So," Roman said, "tell him or keep your head down." Dave reached us then, warm as always, and pressed a cupcake into my hand. "For the road, Nate," he said. Ty picked the sprinkles. "Thanks," I said, voice steady somehow. "They look great." And when I looked up again, Kyle was gone, like he'd been a mirage made of breath and guilt. Snow started again, fine and sly. I took a bite of the cupcake to stall, and the blue frosting smeared my glove like paint I couldn't wipe off. "Decision time," Roman murmured. I swallowed and tasted sugar and salt, and a kind of fear that felt like courage with a limp. I looked at Dave, at his kid, at the red hat, at the empty spot by the fence. Then I opened my mouth. When I say I opened my mouth, what I mean is my body tried to choose a lane, and my tongue didn't get the memo. The words lined up like trucks at a loading dock, and then the horn blew. Literal horn, lunchtime over, and the lane closed. Guys stood, brushing crumbs, crumpling napkins, everyone moving as one messy animal. Dave clapped my shoulder and angled off to show Tyler the excavator, the kid bouncing like a basketball on concrete. Roman shot me a look that said, "Coward or smart?" I didn't know. I spent the next hour with my hands in a junction box and my brain in a blender. The job site hummed its normal hymn, saws singing, someone yelling, "Heads up," a radio bleeding classic rock through tinny speakers. Underneath it, an offbeat drum, Kyle's vanishing act by the fence, the ghost account steady leaking. I took the cupcake Dave shoved at me and stashed it behind a spool of THHN like contraband. Every time I reached for wire, my glove picked up a smear of blue frosting, and I thought of the caption, "Family business." It sat in me like a bad weld. By 2:30, the tide in my head had receded enough that I could hear my own voice again. It said, "If you're gonna say something, say it clean. Not in front of the kid, not in front of the whole yard. Find a moment. Use simple words. Don't play detective with half a badge." I found Dave by the tool crib, counting out anchors. He always counts once for the job, once for the guy who's gonna drop 3 in the dust. "You ever get that breaker to stop tripping on the second floor?" he asked. "All business. Swapped it," I said, then added, before common sense could tackle me, Hey, tonight, you got a minute? Grab a beer at Sal's? I got something to run by you. Dave looked up. He reads faces like schematics. If your left eyebrow goes rogue, he knows your day. He studied me a heartbeat too long, then nodded. Sure, after I put Ty to bed. 8, I said, and felt my stomach go to my boots. 3 o'clock, Maddie and Ty reappeared with the empty cupcake tray. Ty's lips were blue from frosting. Maddie's cheeks had the kind of flush that comes from a heated car and quick decisions. She thanked everyone with that baked sweetness people wear like a sweater. You all take such good care of us, she said. Like we were a hedge she watered sometimes. Maybe that's unkind, but kindness and truth shake hands only every so often. As she turned to go, she made eye contact with me longer than you normally hang with a coworker of your husband. Not flirty, not guilty. More like, are you going to ruin my carefully stacked life? It might have been in my head. My head had a whole multiplex playing. When the shift ended, I wiped down my tools twice to keep my hands busy. On the way out, my phone buzzed. The ghost again. This time it wasn't a snap. It was a text, green bubble, because of course the burner wasn't linked enough for blue. New number, +1, no name. The message, you really gonna tell him? Followed by the eyes emoji. Chill skated down my spine like a dropped bolt. Who is this? I typed. Little dots. Then, someone who knows what a secret weighs. I stared at that sentence until the letters floated. I had the urge to throw my phone into the dumpster behind the trailers and let the compactor bite it in half. Instead, I shoved it deep in my jacket and walked to my truck with my jaw grinding. When I hooked a left out of the lot, I saw a familiar hoodie at the end of the block. Hood up. Head tilted like someone listening for a distant train. Kyle. He didn't look my way. He didn't have to. He already knew where the tracks ran. I didn't go home. I went to Sal's early. Sal's is the kind of bar that accumulates men like we're iron filings, and it's a magnet. The floor is sticky. The TVs play games none of us really watch. The bartender, Gina, knows our names and our favorite lies. I sat at the far corner where a neon beer sign flickers so it looks like it's breathing. I sipped a highball, the kind that tastes like a decision you haven't quite made yet. At 7:58, Dave slid onto the stool next to mine, an apology half-smile still on his face from telling the kid to stay in bed. He smelled like winter air hung on flannel. What's up? He asked, settling, forearms on the bar, the comma scar winking under old bar light. This is the part in a story where I tell you I took a breath, built a bridge out of my spine, and walked it. The true part is I chickened out. Not fully, not forever, but when I saw his face, the easy trust, the fatigue you wear like a second shirt when you're someone's father, it stripped me of the announcer voice I'd been practicing in the truck. My mouth did not want to be the delivery service for pain. Couple guys have been talking stupid, I said instead, taking the long way around the barn. About like Snapchats, troll account, might be nothing. Just keep your guard up. People love to stir. Dave watched me. He could tell I was sanding the edges off something sharp. You ever think, he said, after a beat, how rumors are like drywall dust? The way it gets in the air and settles in your lungs even when you wear the mask, right? I nodded, grateful he'd named the thing without me naming it. Yeah, he took a swallow of his beer, then raised the glass toward where Sal made meatballs in the back. Rough week, he said. Ty had a nightmare about a shark in the bathtub. Maddie's car started making this haunted harmonica noise, and my cousin's been popping in unannounced at the shop, which is code for he's about to ask to borrow money. He said it lightly, a built-in roast we use for cousins who treat family like an ATM with potato salad. Kyle? I asked, keeping my tone casual enough to pass a drug test. Yeah. He grimaced, fond and annoyed in equal parts. Love the idiot. But he's like if a good time grew legs and forgot a wallet. He turned to me. You heard something specific? It's your shoulders. You look like you're carrying rebar. In my pocket, my phone buzzed. A text from the ghost saying, "Don't." I ignored it like I ignore the urge to jump when I'm standing near a ledge. I stared at the condensation ring under my glass. I said, "Look, man, if I ever saw something you needed to know, I'd tell you. That's all." Dave considered. He nodded once, slow, like he was securing a strap. "Okay," he said. Then he smiled to push the air back into the room. "Hey, you still got that blue cupcake? Ty will ask me if you liked it, and he has a professor's memory for details." I laughed small. "Loved it. Tell him the sprinkles were aggressive in a good way. We paid. We stood. We did that man shuffle where no one hugs, and everything important floats unspoken between us like a sturdy balloon." "See you in the morning," he said. "You will," I said, and watched him walk out, the door washing in cold air and the smell of street salt. I didn't sleep. I lay in bed listening to the radiator whistle and the upstairs neighbor's heavy steps and the thought that if I didn't act, I'd be complicit. The ghost texted again at 1:13 a.m. He'll hate you for it. At 1:19, he'll thank you later. At 1:26, which story you want to live in. I stopped reading after that because I didn't have the energy to be bullied by a disembodied conscience. Morning dropped like a bucket. I got to the site early and found Roman hauling a coil of BX bigger than his torso. "You gonna tell him?" he asked by way of good morning. "I tried," I said. My tongue staged a walkout. Roman snorted. "Figures. For what it's worth, I asked my cousin's kid. He's 16, speaks fluent messy internet. About saving snaps. He says you gotta wanna save them. It isn't accidental. Some ghost wanted this to stick. That lodged another splinter in me. Wanting something to stick is an act. It means we weren't just witnessing a thing. Someone had an agenda. Around 10, the foreman flipped because someone left a ladder in a doorway, and that ate up enough panic that I could think. At lunch, the crew climbed the tailgate again. The sky was a clean January blue, the kind that looks like it was polished overnight. We unwrapped our sandwiches. Mikey talked about a used truck he was thinking of buying. Roman picked salt off sunflower seeds like a bird in a booth. Dave wandered up late, cheeks chapped, eyes tired. My phone buzzed. I didn't want to check it, but not checking felt like closing your eyes on the highway. Another snap. Same ghost. Caption: "Final offer." The video was low, shot from a lap like a camera someone forgot to lift. You could see legs, in jeans, in leggings, sitting in a car. You could hear breathing, a nervous laugh swallowed. Then a voice, male, familiar. "We keep it quiet, or we stop. Your call." And her voice, soft, lighter than in person. Quiet. The camera lifted just enough to catch the corner of a cousin's smile and a red knit hat sliding off a knee. I put the phone down like it burned. The metal of the tailgate steadied me through my coat. I looked at Dave, who was telling a story about Tyler swapping sight words, so "the" became "te." And the teacher wrote a smiley face anyway. Behind his head, The city skyline did its hard, bright thing. Indifferent as a god. I don't know what snapped me. Maybe it was the way the snap's sound bled into the empty space between our sentences. Maybe it was the thought of the kid's blue tongue from frosting. Maybe it was the exhaustion of being a person who hesitates. I heard Roman's voice in my head calling me a coward. I heard my own voice saying later. And I knew later is where cowards live. "Dave," I said, interrupting myself more than him. "I need 5 minutes. Now, away from here." He blinked. He saw something in my face and stood without question. We walked around the back of the generator where the noise hit us. The air was metallic and bitter. My hands shook. I took my phone out and pulled up the photo with the tinfoil reflection. Then I swiped to the lap shot, paused on the quiet. I didn't hit play. "I'm sorry," I said, and handed him the screen. I don't know who's sending these. I don't know their motive, but I can't carry it alone. Dave took the phone. He didn't say a thing. He put thumb to glass like a man checking the weather. He watched. The color went out of his face like someone had knocked the breaker. He watched twice. He pressed his lips together like a guy trying to decide whether to hit something or hold on to it. "Who sent you this?" he asked. But the question had fogged out all the others. "Ghost account," I said. "Texts, too. No name. Could be a prank, could be my life," he said. His voice wasn't angry. It was raw wood. "I'm sorry," I said again. The words limp, useless as a bent nail. He breathed once, twice. He scrubbed a palm down his face hard enough to erase it. I need to, He handed me the phone back and stepped away, then stepped back like the ground wasn't where he'd left it. "Thank you," he said, and there was no sarcasm in it. "I mean it. Even if I hate this." He walked toward the trailers. I wanted to chase him, to put caution tape around the whole day. Instead, I stood there with my heartbeat in my ears and thought, "You did it. You kicked the hornet's nest." The nest kicked back in less than 10 minutes. Across the yard, I saw Dave at the edge of the lot, phone to his ear. He was turned away, so I couldn't see his eyes. His shoulders told the story, stiff, then slumped, then squared as if a decision had walked up and introduced itself. He hung up, then called someone else, voice sharp enough to carry. He paced. He nodded at nothing. He put his free hand on his head like he was holding it in place. Roman drifted over to me, quiet as a crane. "You did it," he said. "I did it," I said. "God help me." He looked toward Dave, then back at me. "Stay out of the blast radius." The rest of the day wore a different color. People sensed something and didn't ask because asking means you're volunteering to hold a corner. By quitting time, the site had been through 12 different weather systems without a cloud in the sky. In the lot, Dave was waiting by my truck. His breath smoked in the air. His jaw had gone into that lock men get when they're trying to be careful and failing. "He wants to meet," he said. No hello. Kyle said, "Let's talk like men." He picked the marina. 10 minutes. His voice shook on the last 2 words. Barely. If you didn't know him, you'd miss it. I didn't. "You want me to come?" I heard myself ask. The question tasted like I was sticking my head into a machine. "No," he said instantly, then hesitated. "Yes, not with me, just nearby. If it goes sideways, don't let me do something that costs me my kid." The way he said kid made my throat close. "Okay," I said. "Okay." We drove in separate trucks, taillights winking in little red commas all the way down to the marina, where the wind is always a little meaner. Boats clinked against their ropes like nervous teeth. The sky over the water was a hard winter gold fading to gray. We parked a row apart. Kyle was already there, leaning against a dull blue pickup, hood up, hands jammed in the kangaroo pocket of his hoodie like they were guilty. I hung back near the bait shop, pretending to study a poster about ice fishing safety. I could feel their voices more than hear them, rumble and spike. I caught pieces. It's not like, don't you dare minimize. We stopped, okay? When? We were stupid. You're my blood. You're my blood. The wind took a breath and the words landed like a wrench in a tool bucket. Kyle pulled his hood back. It was like looking at a funhouse mirror of Dave. Same eyebrows, same mouth, edges rearranged. His grin was gone. He looked young and sorry and eager to be forgiven in the way of guys who get forgiven a lot. Dave's hands were fists at his sides, opening and closing the way you do when you're choosing not to swing. His shoulders hiked up, then dropped. I was 2 heartbeats from stepping in when Dave shook his head, turned on his heel, and walked right past me like I was a post. I followed him to his truck. He got in, then got back out, then pressed his palms to the cold metal of the door like it could take heat from him without flinching. He says it's over, he said. He says it was just the thrill. He says it didn't mean anything. Dave laughed once, a sound with zero humor. Imagine using didn't mean anything like it's a mop. I'm sorry, I said, for the 50th time. And it meant exactly as much and as little as before. He looked at me, eyes glassed over with either tears or wind or both. You ever notice how the word family can be a shelter and a weapon in the same sentence? He didn't wait for an answer. He put one hand on my shoulder, not in gratitude so much as to steady his own balance. I got to go home, he said. I have to. I don't even know what, but I can't not go. Call me if you need anything, I said. If you need me to come get you, if you need me to sit in the driveway like a security guard, whatever. He nodded, climbed into the truck, and left like he was dragging 3 extra tons. Kyle came over then, because of course he did. He moved like a man who believes he can charm his way through a brick wall if he just makes the right face. He kept a few feet between us like he knew my patience had a radius. You Nate? He said. Yeah. He gave me a smile that edges toward apology without quite becoming one. You did him dirty, he said, but maybe right. Don't, I said, sharper than I intended. Don't fold me into your mess. I didn't send those snaps. Kyle's smile faltered. No, He stopped. He looked at the water, then back at me. Look, man, me and Maddie, we got stupid. It was new and he searched for a word and found the worst one. It was fun, like standing somewhere you're not supposed to be and hearing footsteps. It made everything else, work, bills, the kids' school emails, feel like I was awake for the first time in months. You're describing adrenaline, I said. You can get it by climbing a ladder wrong. Doesn't mean you build your house crooked. He laughed quick. He liked that line even if it was a punch. You sound like Dave, he said, and something in his face softened like he'd put his hand on a stovetop and only now realized it was on. I'm not defending. I'm trying to explain the way bad decisions sound like music when you're bored. I looked at him, at the Harwood stitched on his sleeve, at the Kamaskar's cousin on his wrist. If you care about him, I said, get out of his way. He nodded, surprise and relief tripping over each other. That's the plan, he said. I told him I'm taking the shop on a road job upstate. I'll be gone a while. Give him room to... He made a shape in the air with his hands like space. Good, I said. It wasn't my place to decide what was good, but I took the job anyway. He put his hood up and started to go, then turned back. Hey, off the record? His voice dropped, as if the bait shop might be wearing a wire. You're not the only one, the ghost texted. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the wind. Who else? He hesitated, then shook his head. Doesn't matter, just be careful. Whoever's saving those snaps, they're playing a game with more rules than we can see. He left me with that, and the sound of rigging lines tapping masts like a headache with good timing. I drove home slower than laws suggest. On my kitchen counter, the blue cupcake waited on a paper towel like a bad omen with sprinkles. I took a bite, because this story seems determined to keep food in it at the worst times. I chewed and thought of Tyler's proud face. I thought of Maddie's small, neat movements, the way she tucks hair behind an ear like she's straightening a picture on a wall no one but her notices is crooked. I thought of Dave, who would get home to a kitchen that smelled like somebody's life and try to find a sentence that didn't explode. At 9:14 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Dave. Thank you for telling me. Come to lunch tomorrow. Sit on my tailgate. I need you to hear something. I stared at it until the letters swam again. Then I sent back. Okay, morning cracked cold and mean. On site, I did my work not badly but distracted, the way you do when your head is a loud room. By noon, I was at Dave's tailgate like a man answering a summons. Roman floated nearby, pretending not to protect me. Mikey brought chips because food is a language. Dave arrived with the blue cooler and an expression that said, I didn't sleep either, but I'm here. He hopped up, sat, and looked at us like a foreman before a dangerous job. Okay, he said. Maddie and I talked. We cried. We said things you only say once if you're smart. She admitted it. She said it was new. She said it was the thrill. She said it stopped 2 weeks ago. She said she wanted our life more than she wanted the sparks. He swallowed. We watched the swallow like it was an eclipse. I don't know what I'm doing yet, he said. But I know 2 things. 1, Tyler doesn't get to be collateral. Everything I do behind a wall he doesn't have to see over. 2, Kyle's off my map for a long time. Good, Roman said softly, surprising himself by sounding like a person and not a commentary track. Dave looked at me. 3rd thing, he said, and it turned out there were 3. The ghost, the snaps. That burner texted me last night too, said, Truth wants eyes. I don't like being played in stereo, so we figure out who it is, I said, before my better judgment could change the locks. We stop letting whoever it is hold the remote. Careful, Roman muttered. This is how guys end up on ladders leaned on bad walls. Dave half smiled. No ladders, just questions. He looked toward the trailers, toward the spot where we'd found the red hat in slush. Someone had to be near to catch the background, someone who knows the site, someone who knows my family enough to care and hate enough to hurt. That's when Maddie walked past, head down, hat pulled low, carrying a paper bag. She didn't see us or pretended not to. She turned into the trailer, was gone a minute, came out without the bag, phone in hand. She looked around the yard like she was reading signs only she could see. Then she went. It struck me how small she looked against the cranes and the stacked steel. How small and how tough. My phone buzzed. Ghost again. Meet me. Lunch. far side of sight. Alone. You want this over? This wasn't a suggestion. This was a line drawn on a floor and the word jump shouted in an empty room. I showed Dave the text. He studied it, then nodded. Okay, he said. Go. But you're not going alone. He hopped off the tailgate. Roman, circle around to the west fence. I'll hang near the gang box like I forgot a wrench. Nate, you head there slow. Keep your phone on. Pocket call me. Feels theatrical, Roman said. Everything is theater now, Dave said. Let's get good seats. I walked. Past the pallets. Past the little sea of orange cones. Past the place where the frost doesn't leave the ground even when the sun hits it. I slipped my phone into my chest pocket with the call to Dave open. The tiniest green bar telling me we were live. The far side of the site is near the generator yard where it's loud enough you can hide a murder confession and no one would hear. I rounded the last stack of duct. Someone stepped out. Not Kyle. Not Maddie. Not Roman, who was not built for stealth anyway. It was someone I wouldn't have picked out of a line at Sal's or a church bake sale because he blends the way beige does. He wears a hard hat like it's glued on. He brings his lunch in a brown bag. He laughs at jokes half a beat late. He's the safety guy's assistant, the one who takes photos for the daily log and posts the bulletins about remember your fall arrest. Name, Evan. Title, forgettable. He clicked his phone off with his thumb like a gunslinger holstering a piece. You came, he said. His voice was flatter than I expected, like all the air had been ironed out of it. Evan, I said, surprise thin but sincere. You? He tucked his chin, almost shy. Everyone thinks it's always the cousin or the wife. No one looks at the guy who stands by the sign-in sheet. Why? I asked. Because the first why in any mess is the only one that matters. He shrugged one shoulder. You guys think this place is a church, he said. It's not. It's a carnival. People lie and yell and drink and go home with the wrong hearts. You all act like you're good. I wanted to show what it costs. His eyes didn't meet mine. He looked past me at the stacked duct, counting seams. Also, he added, almost as an afterthought, Kyle owes me $4,000. There it is, the small real reason hiding behind the big noble speech. So you saved snaps, I said. You plastered them through the crew like flyers for a band you hate, he smiled, tiny and bitter. I didn't plaster them. I sent them to people who would. You know what the best solvent is? Gossip. It removes the glue from any relationship. He looked at my chest. Is he listening? He asked. And I didn't bother to lie. Dave, I said into the phone. You might want to take a walk. Evan held up his hands. I'm not here to get jumped, he said. I'm here to make a point, and to tell you there's one snap you haven't seen. My pulse tripped. Show me. He glanced around, then cupped his phone in his palm like a secret and pulled up a video. It was the first day. The red hat, the beige trailer wall, the quick kiss to the temple. But this version didn't cut off at 8 seconds. It kept rolling. Maddie pulled back, laughing, then spoke, and for the first time in any of these, the audio was clean. Kyle, stop. Someone will see. And Kyle's voice, low and eager. Let them. Evan stopped the video. The generator behind us throbbed. Somewhere distant, someone shouted for a lift. You see? Evan said. They wanted the thrill, but he wanted the stage. People like that don't get to dictate the show. You pick the script then, I said. and hated that I understood the relief that comes with pushing a story into daylight. So you aren't the only one squinting. He pocketed the phone. Tell him I'm sorry, he said with zero apology in it. But also tell him he's better off without the lie. He started to go, then paused. And Nate? Careful with heroes. They break. He walked away the way he arrived, becoming generic within 20 steps. The kind of guy whose face your memory edits to stock image. I exhaled. My hand left a sweat print on my phone. Roman appeared first, moving fast, eyes sharp. You good? He asked. Define good, I said. But yeah, Dave came second, face carved bare. I told him. He listened like a man mapping a new city. I showed him the longer video. He didn't flinch because flinching is for the first cuts. This was salt in them. Okay, he said. He looked past me at nothing and everything. Okay. You think Evan's done? Roman asked, suspicion the only thing keeping him upright. He got what he wanted, Dave said. A mess with my name on it. He breathed, shallow. But maybe something else small too. A chance for me not to pretend. We stood there a minute. 3 men in bright vests on frozen ground. The generator's heartbeat making our bones vibrate. I put my hands on my hips to keep them from shaking. Roman cracked his knuckles out of habit. Dave looked at the sky like it might have instructions written on it in a language he'd almost learned. Come to my tailgate tomorrow, he said finally. I'll tell you what I decided. That fast? Roman said. Dave half smiled without humor. You ever notice how, once a wall's cracked, you can spend a month pretending, or you can knock it down and start planning a new one? Either way, you're cold for a while. He walked away. I watched him go and thought about the first day I met him. The way he'd borrowed my crimper and returned it on time and shiny like it had been to the spa. I thought about blue frosting and a kid who'd spell the like te for laughs. I thought about Evan's barely there face and Kyle's eager grin and Maddie's careful, tired kindness. I knew tomorrow's lunch would be a story no matter what. I also knew we weren't the only audience. Somebody was still watching, even with the ghost quiet. The site is a carnival. The site is a church. The site is a stage. All 3 can burn. At 12:06 the next day, right as I sat down on the tailgate, my phone buzzed. The ghost was back. New caption, new clip. Just 2 words, simple and heavy as a dropped beam. Ask Tyler. And the video? 6-year-old Tyler in the back seat of a car, buckled in, talking to the phone the way kids do when they think it's a mirror. Uncle Kyle says secrets are like fireworks, he says, sincere and proud. Pretty for a little, then loud. The camera shakes. A woman's voice off screen, Maddie's, says, startled, Ty. And the clip cuts. Across the yard, Dave lifted his head like something had called his name from far away. I swallowed hard enough to rearrange my throat, and I knew whatever wall Dave decided to knock down, the blast was going to lean our way. When I tell you the air went thin after that snap, I mean I sat there on the tailgate with my sandwich half open and couldn't swallow. The guys were still laughing at Mikey's joke about a plumber and a raccoon, but the phone in my hand was lava. Ask Tyler. 6 years old, telling secrets to a screen like it was recess. I could hear the innocence in his voice, that simple, eager trust kids carry like a balloon that's one gust away from snapping free. I locked my phone and set it face down. Dave was a few trucks away, unwrapping his lunch slow, shoulders hunched like someone had welded weight plates under his jacket. I didn't know if the ghost had sent him the same clip. I didn't know if I should be the one to show him. I only knew the kid's voice was now part of the mess. And once kids get pulled in, there's no fence tall enough. Roman leaned close, cracking sunflower seeds. You just went white as PVC? Ghost again? Yeah. My voice came out like sandpaper. What now? I didn't answer. Instead, I got up, wiped my hands on my jeans, and walked over to Dave. He looked up mid-bite, chewing slow. You get one? I asked. He nodded. Didn't even blink. Yeah, he said. Tie in the car. Fireworks. He tapped the cooler beside him like it was a gavel. Sit. I sat. He chewed the rest of his sandwich, washed it down with coffee from a thermos. The patience of it scared me more than if he'd raged. Finally, he said, You know what makes me sick? He told Ty about fireworks once. 4th of July 2 years back. Kid lit a sparkler, panicked when it spit. Kyle laughed, told him not to fear fire, it's just loud light. Secrets are like fireworks, he said. I was there. I rubbed my jaw. So the kid didn't make it up. No, Dave said, staring past the yard at nothing. He remembered, and he repeated it to a phone, but not to me, not to his dad. His voice cracked just once, quick, like a board under too much weight. Then it steadied. Means Maddie's not only been sneaking, she's been sneaking with our boy in the back seat. That's the part I can't wrap. He stood, too fast, and his sandwich wrapper skated off the tailgate like trash caught in wind. I caught his arm. Dave! He shook me off, not angry, just full. Don't. Not here. I'll say something I can't unsay. The horn blew, saving both of us from having to continue. The crew scattered, lunch over, but the yard had shifted. Even the gulls sounded sharper. That night I couldn't sit still. My apartment walls pressed in. I went out, walked down by the shipyard where the cranes lean like old drunks and the air smells like salt and paint thinner. Every footstep rang with the same thought. Who was behind the ghost account? And why drag the kid in now? At 10:47, my phone buzzed. New text from the burner. Did he ask Tyler yet? I typed back before thinking, leave the kid out of it. The reply came quick. Kids see everything. Sometimes they're the only truth. I wanted to throw the phone in the harbor, watch it sink with the crab traps. Instead, I pocketed it and walked until the cold stitched my lungs shut. Next morning, Dave came in late. Eyes bloodshot, jaw unshaved. He clocked in without words, went straight to the lift basket. By break, he finally drifted over to me, voice low. I asked him, he said. My heart stopped. Tyler? Yeah, last night. I read him his story, tucked him in, then asked gentle, Buddy, what did you mean about fireworks? He said, real simple. That's what Uncle Kyle says when Mommy tells me not to tell Daddy. I closed my eyes. Dave kept going, like he had to pour it out or drown. He said Uncle Kyle brings him hot chocolate in the car sometimes while Mommy runs into the store. He said Uncle Kyle makes it fun, like a game, secrets and fireworks. Dave's hands shook. My kid thinks adultery is hide and seek with whipped cream on top. There was nothing to say. He leaned close. Tonight, I'm confronting Maddie. After Tyler's asleep. I don't know if I'm throwing her out or asking her to explain until her throat's dry. But I can't breathe until it's said. You want me there? No, he said. You already carried enough of this for me, but tomorrow, you'll know. That evening, I sat in Sal's with Roman, nursing a beer that tasted like punishment. Roman chewed his seeds, eyes on the TV, but brain somewhere else. You think he'll throw her out? He asked. I shrugged. Depends which part hurts more, the betrayal or the cousin. Roman spat a shell into the paper cup. Cousin makes it Shakespeare. I almost laughed, but the noise stuck. My phone buzzed on the bar. I froze. Burner again. He's talking to her now. Roman read my face. What? I showed him. He swore. How the hell would they know that? Before I could answer, another text came. She's lying. And then, he won't believe her. I gripped the phone like it was a steering wheel on black ice. The idea that someone was watching inside their house, maybe outside, maybe closer, curdled my gut. You think it's Evan again? Roman whispered. Or Kyle, I muttered. Or both. Another buzz. He's going to break. I shoved the phone in my pocket, heart jackhammering. I wanted to run out, drive to Dave's, bang on the door. But it wasn't my marriage. It wasn't my family. It was his house, his walls. All I had was a front row ticket I never wanted. The next morning, Dave didn't show. Not late, just absent. By 9 a.m., the foreman was pissed, muttering about calling in. By 10, everyone was speculating. By lunch, I was staring at the gate every 10 seconds. At 12:15, his truck pulled in. Relief flared and died when I saw his face. He looked like someone had hollowed him out and left just the shell to drive. He parked crooked, got out, walked past the tailgates without a word. I followed him. Dave, he stopped in the shadow of the trailer. She admitted it, he said. Voice flat, eyes like steel left in rain. Every word. Said it was the thrill. Said it ended weeks ago. Said she loves me, not him. He laughed once, sharp. Like love and thrill are different currencies you can juggle. And? I asked carefully. And I told her Kyle's not welcome again. Not at the house, not at holidays, not even in conversation. She cried. Said she'd choose me over him 100 times. But then she said... He stopped, looked at me like he wanted me to absorb the blow before it hit. She said if I made her cut him out completely, she'd resent me. Because family's family. The word echoed between us like a hammer dropped down a stairwell. I shook my head. So what are you gonna do? He looked past me, at the skyline jagged with cranes. I don't know, but I know this. Tyler isn't gonna grow up thinking secrets are games. If that means splitting Christmas between houses, then so be it. He started walking. I didn't follow. My chest felt full of wire ends, all sharp. That night, another text came. A photo this time. Dave's Christmas card, curled at the edges, pinned on the trailer wall. Only now there was writing scrawled across it in Sharpie. Truth or fireworks. Your choice. No caption, no sender name. Just that. And for the first time since this started, I felt like the real story wasn't about Maddie, or Kyle, or even Dave. It was about whoever was holding the marker. Someone who wanted the family to burn, and the rest of us to watch. The worst part? I couldn't tell if Dave was about to choose truth or fireworks, and the horn the next morning sounded like both. The morning after the Sharpie message, the site felt wired wrong. You know how sometimes the job hums steady? Tools buzzing, guys yelling, radios bleeding. And then sometimes the noise has an edge, like every sound's carrying bad news. That was the yard. Even the gulls sounded like they were gossiping. I got there early, walked into the trailer like I was just after coffee. The Christmas card wall was right where it always was. Flyers, lost gloves, union notices, and in the middle, Dave's card with the Sharpie slash across it. Truth truth or fireworks. Your choice. The marker had bled through, curling the paper. Someone had done it late, quiet, inside a trailer everyone uses. That chilled me more than the message. It wasn't just some ghost outside the fence. It was someone walking the same mud, wearing the same hard hats. I snapped a photo, then tore the card down and folded it into my jacket. The foreman looked up from the log sheet. "What's that?" "Trash," I said too fast. He shrugged, went back to his paperwork. Dave came in late again. He looked not wrecked, not furious, just empty. Like he'd run every emotion dry and was now running on fumes. He didn't even glance toward the trailers. Went straight to his lift, tools rattling. At break, I caught him by the conduit racks, showed him the photo. His jaw clenched, but his eyes didn't even widen. He just stared, then handed the phone back. "Whoever's doing this wants a show," he said. "I'm done performing." "That's not just about you anymore," I said. "They're writing on your family. They drag Ty in. They're on site. This isn't just..." He cut me off with a look. "You think I don't know that? But if I chase every ghost with a marker, I'll lose the one thing I'm trying to keep. My kid." He turned away before I could press. By lunch, the crew was whispering like kids in church. Everyone knew something was off. Mikey swore he'd seen Kyle's truck near the lot before shift. Roman said Evan had been wandering with his phone too much, logging things no one asked for. Nobody wanted to say it outright, but the site had split into camps. People who thought it was Kyle stirring his own mess, and people who thought it was Evan with his bitter grin. I sat on the tailgate, chewing bread that turned to paste in my mouth. Dave walked up, set his blue cooler down, sat heavy. No food. Just sat. Finally, he spoke. "Maddie called Kyle last night. On speaker. Told him it's over. Permanent. Said if he shows his face again, she'll tell his mother exactly why he's not invited to Thanksgiving." He said he understood. Dave's mouth twisted. He understood like a guy who thinks understand is the same as forgive. "Do you believe her?" I asked. He rubbed the comma scar on his wrist like it was a worry stone. "I believe she wants me more than she wants him. I don't know if that's enough." Roman dropped down next to us, crunching chips. "So what now? You patch it? You burn it? You build new?" Dave didn't answer right away. He just stared at the skyline, cranes clawing at the gray sky. Then he said, "I'm not quitting my own house. I'll sleep in the damn garage if I have to. But Kyle's out. For good. And Maddie, she gets one more chance. Not because she earned it. Because Tyler deserves to see his dad try." I respected him in that moment, even if it broke something in me to hear it. Blue-collar guys don't always get the luxury of clean exits. Sometimes you patch with duct tape and hope the thing holds. That night, the ghost came again. My phone buzzed at 11:19. A snap, no caption. Just a photo of Dave's truck parked in his driveway. Porch light on. Through the living room window, you could see shadows. Maddie pacing. Dave sitting hunched. Tyler's nightlight glowing down the hall. The chill went bone deep. This wasn't old footage. Wasn't a saved snap. This was live. Someone was outside their house, close enough to breathe on the glass. I didn't think. I just grabbed my keys and drove. The roads were slick, salt streaks shining under the lamps. My hands cramped on the wheel. When I pulled up, Dave was already on the porch. He must have gotten the same snap. He had no coat, just a hoodie, breath fogging. He didn't look surprised to see me, just tired. "You too?" he asked. I nodded, showed him my phone. same as his. We stood there a minute, scanning the dark. No movement, no truck, just night and quiet. Then faint, from down the block, a laugh. Quick, sharp, familiar. Kyle's. Dave froze, then stepped forward, fists tightening. I caught his arm. "Don't," I said. "Not with Ty asleep inside." He shook me off, but softer this time. "I'm not swinging," he said. "Not tonight." He raised his voice into the dark. "You hear me, Kyle? You're done. You don't get to watch my windows. You don't get to teach my kids secrets. You're out." The laugh came again, thinner now, like it was moving away. Then silence. Dave turned back to me. "He wants a war. I won't give him one. But if he keeps dragging Ty into it..." His voice broke. He didn't finish. We stood there until the cold chased us in. Next morning, the lot was buzzing before the horn. Word had spread. Someone had been outside Dave's place. No one knew how. No one admitted to it. The foreman barked about productivity, but even he knew it was smoke without fire. At lunch, Dave didn't sit with us. He stayed in his truck, head bowed. When he finally stepped out, he walked over, calmer than I expected. "I'm filing a police report," he said. "Not about the affair, about the stalking. If Kyle thinks this is fun, let him explain it to a badge. And if it's not him, if it's Evan or whoever, I want a record, a paper trail, for Tyler." Roman nodded. "Smart." Dave looked at me. "You started this for me, Nate. You carried it when it wasn't yours. I won't forget that. But from here, I have to carry my own." I swallowed. "Yeah, I get it." He half smiled, tired but real. "I don't know if Maddie and I make it through this, but whatever happens, I'm not letting Kyle, or Evan, or any ghost, write our story. That's mine." He clapped my shoulder, hard, final, then walked back to his truck. I sat there staring at the cranes until the horn blew us back to work. The ghost never sent me another snap. Not one. But sometimes when I pass the Christmas card wall in the trailer, I see the blank space where Dave's card used to be. And I think about the Sharpie words, truth or fireworks. Dave chose truth. But truth doesn't end a story. It just strips the lies off it. What comes next is the part no one can build for you. And every time I hear the jingle of keys on a tape measure chain, I still look up, just in case. Some truths burn hotter than any fire on a job site. And once they're out, there's no covering the scars. Thanks for listening to this story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back tomorrow for more. This was Nate's story, and it's one I won't ever forget.